A $20 box of hay cooks a full meal with zero electricity and zero gas after the first 5 minutes. 14,000 families across 3 countries proved it over 10 years. The United States government promoted this exact method to millions of households during 2 world wars. Then the appliance industry buried it so completely that your grandmother forgot she ever owned one. Someone just decided your kitchen should cost you more. By the end of this video, you will discover exactly why the food industry erased this technology and how to build one yourself for $20 in one afternoon. Hi, I'm Oliver, and welcome to Off-Grid Ohms. Subscribe and hit the bell for more uncovering electrical secrets. The science behind this is measured thermodynamics, documented in laboratories worldwide. When you boil a pot of stew and the liquid reaches 212 degrees Fahrenheit, the food holds massive thermal energy. The minimum temperature required to actively cook most foods sits around 180 degrees. That gap between boiling point and the cooking threshold represents usable energy that your pot radiates into your kitchen for no reason. You are paying for heat and letting it escape into the air while you stand there stirring for 3 hours. Now consider what happens when you wrap that boiling pot in 8 inches of insulation. Hay and straw have thermal conductivity comparable to the fiberglass batt insulation inside your walls. 8 inches of packed hay delivers an insulation value between R12 and R20. A pot surrounded by that material loses only 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. Your food stays above active cooking temperature for 2 to 4 hours without a single additional unit of fuel. Engineers at the Approvicho Research Center in Cottage Grove, Oregon, measured heat retention efficiencies of 92% over 3 hours in properly constructed hay box cookers. A conventional stovetop, simmering that same stew for 4 hours consumes between 3,400 and 6,800 British thermal units of natural gas. A hay box uses zero fuel after the initial boil. 80 to 90% of that fuel cost is simply gone. But here is what makes this remarkable. We did not discover this. Every civilization that mastered cooking figured it out independently. In 1860, Norwegian engineers commercialized a device called the Høy Kasse. They patented it as the Norwegian self-cooking apparatus and sold it across Scandinavia. Shipping companies adopted it immediately because open flames on wooden vessels killed sailors. A pot that cooks without fire does not sink a ship. In the trenches of World War I, British and French soldiers cooked meals in improvised thermal cookers made from ammunition boxes packed with hay. The War Office Manual of Military Cooking, published in 1915, includes specific retained heat instructions for battalion cooks. Young men freezing in the mud ate hot stew that had been cooking for hours without a flame. In Japan, this technology never disappeared. The Thermos Corporation launched the Shuttle Chef in the early 1990s. It is a vacuum-insulated outer pot with no electricity and no fuel beyond the initial boil. It sits in every department store in Tokyo today. Families across Asia cook dinner every night with trapped heat, and nobody considers this unusual. In South Africa, around 2008, Sarah Collins developed the Wonder Bag. The Wonder Bag is a fabric-insulated thermal cooker certified by the South African Bureau of Standards. Over 1 million Wonder Bags have been distributed to families across sub-Saharan Africa through various humanitarian partnerships. The physics works in Nairobi. It works in Tokyo. It worked in frozen trenches over a century ago. And then there is America, where for 40 years the government itself told every household to build one. In 1916, the USDA published Farmer's Bulletin number 771, titled Fireless Cookery. It was distributed to millions of households with engineering diagrams and temperature charts. The language was direct. Every housewife should own a fireless cooker. In the 1890s, Edward Atkinson developed the Aladdin oven, which was marketed commercially nationwide. Families across the Midwest purchased these by the thousands. During World War II, the Office of Price Administration promoted fireless cookers as patriotic fuel conservation. Radio addresses aired on national networks. Newspaper columns ran construction plans. American women built millions of hay boxes from scrap lumber and old blankets. Your grandmother may have owned one. Your great-grandmother almost certainly did. Then the war ended. General Electric launched the all-electric kitchen campaign in 1948. Westinghouse and Frigidaire followed. Massive advertising budgets positioned electric ranges and gas ovens as symbols of modernity. The marketing explicitly framed fuel-free cooking as wartime hardship, something to be ashamed of, something that belonged to rationing and scarcity rather than prosperity. Home economics curricula shifted within a single decade. By 1960, fireless cookers had vanished from American cookbooks, hardware stores, and classrooms entirely. Not because the physics failed, because an industry decided that a $20 box of hay was bad for business. The FDA Food Code, Section 350.116, requires hot-held food to maintain 135 degrees with continuous monitoring. A thermal retention cooker by its nature allows gradual temperature decline, making the method technically non-compliant. A provision called time as a control in Section 350.119 allows a 4-hour window, but it demands written procedures and mandatory disposal requirements that make thermal cooking impractical in commercial settings. No retained heat cooking device has ever been submitted for consumer product safety certification because no applicable test standard exists. The absence of a pathway is itself the prohibition. Follow the money. The natural gas industry delivers 36% of residential cooking fuel. Every household that adopts a $20 hay box represents approximately $180 to $340 in annual utility revenue lost. The American Gas Association spends millions of dollars annually promoting cooking with gas. Their publications have never once acknowledged retained heat cooking as a competing method. Appliance manufacturers depend on a replacement cycle of 10 to 15 years per household. A box of hay does not break. It does not become obsolete. It does not require a warranty or a service plan. It represents a permanent exit from the consumer appliance economy, and that terrifies every company that profits from your kitchen. But outside the United States, the science kept accumulating. The German development agency GIZ documented fuel savings of 20 to 80% across 14,000 households in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Senegal over a decade. Zero reported food safety incidents when users followed the return to boil protocol. Researchers at the University of Nairobi tested 12 thermal retention cooker designs, with the best performers maintaining temperatures above 176 degrees for 5 hours. The Aprovecho Research Center confirmed any food brought to a full boil and insulated within 2 minutes remains above 165 degrees for a minimum of 4 hours. The science meets the FDA's own safe serving standard. The code just refuses to recognize the method. Here is exactly how to build it. You need a box large enough to surround your biggest pot with 8 inches of clearance on all sides. Use 15 to 20 pounds of hay or straw from any feed store. Old towels or wool blankets work if hay is unavailable. Use a cushion that fits snugly over the top. Total cost is between $12 and $20. Pack 8 inches of insulation on the bottom. Nest your pot in the center and pack insulation tightly on all sides. Air gaps are the enemy. The lid cushion must compress firmly against the pot lid with no space for convection currents. Bring your food to a full rolling boil for 2 to 5 minutes. Transfer the pot immediately to the box within 60 seconds. Do not open the box for a minimum of 4 hours. For meals sitting longer than 6 hours, return the pot to a rolling boil for 10 minutes before serving. This method works for stews, soups, grains, beans, rice, braised meats, and porridge. It does not work for anything requiring browning, crisping, or precise temperature control. For food safety, use a probe thermometer. If the internal temperature drops below 140 degrees before serving, put the pot back on the stove and bring it to a full boil. This protocol eliminated food safety incidents across 14,000 households over 10 years. The knowledge survived because physics does not care about marketing budgets or regulatory capture. It works in 14,000 kitchens across East Africa right now. It works in millions of Japanese homes every evening. If you build it for $20 in one afternoon, it will work for you quietly and indefinitely, while the gas company pretends it does not exist. If this changed how you think about electricity, subscribe to Off-Grid Ohms with Oliver, and please watch the next video appearing on your screen right now.